A lot to a little. That's going to be the final score of Vikings Rams, with LA out on top. And what a jarring turn of events over the past 2 weeks from Sam Darnold. Leads the Vikings to 14 wins after exiting the 49ers QB Rehab Program. Everybody's talking about a big long-term extension for Sam Darnold. Everybody's talking about putting the J.J. McCarthy era on hold. People are also saying that, the 49ers, maybe they should try to grab Sam Darnold instead of Brock Purdy. But over the past 2 weeks, between a game featuring multiple disastrous missed opportunities against the Detroit Lions, and then this disaster class against the Rams where Sam Darnold was sacked 8 times, many of which were his fault. There was a sack from Akella Witherspoon, the former 49er, that jarred the ball loose and turned into a fumble 6. I don't know if we've ever seen a narrative on a quarterback and the offseason plans surrounding him change as much in a 2-week stretch as they have surrounding Sam Darnold. So let's pour one out for the horrific take that was going around a month or 2 ago. It was something like what I have written on the screen. Darnold at a lower price over Purdy at a higher price for the 49ers. Absolutely not. I mean, this weekend of play was absolutely wild in that Brock Purdy didn't even have to play to see his perception on the outside skyrocket. Darnold sealed the deal, but I had already talked about the poor outings from Jordan Love and Justin Herbert. It's very, very clear that Brock Purdy is better than all 3 of those quarterbacks, all 3 of those quarterbacks being former first-round picks with supposedly a lot of physical upside, but the whole draftism, the school of thought when it comes to the quarterback position, which I think has been poisonous when it comes to football intelligence and football analysis, died a really ugly death. And there are a lot of people frustrated about it online. I'm kind of laughing about that. I have people sending me tweets. I don't follow a whole lot of people on Twitter, but Mike will send me some tweets of the meltdowns that we see happening right now. People are getting cooked online. And I mean, you deserve to get cooked online. If you were saying that the 49ers should take Sam Darnold over Brock Purdy, or if you were saying that Jordan Love was better than Purdy, or if you were saying that Justin Herbert was better than Purdy, you had the statistics and you had the game tape to tell you that that wasn't the truth. So I don't know what to tell you. This is from a coach. Listen to this. I got a text message from a coach today. It turns out that playing quarterback in the playoffs is exceptionally difficult. It's why Eli Manning's 2 Super Bowl runs are going to put him in the Hall of Fame. Arm talent and regular season highlight reels aside, there's a reason why Sam Darnold is going to be paid close to half as much as Brock Purdy. Purdy's going to make, I'm oversimplifying again, caveat, but he's going to be in the 50 to 60 million range, right? It's going to be more about fully guaranteed money. But just for the sake of argument, say Brock Purdy comes in at about 60 million, which would be market rate. It's going to be tough for Sam Darnold now, who's lost himself quite a bit of money over the past 2 weeks, to be much above 30 million. So there are different price points for quarterbacks. There is the A-list, top of the market QB, where Brock Purdy's obviously headed toward that. That's, if we're going to go by APY, in the 50 to 60 million range. Then you're going to have your B quarterback in the NFL. So this is somebody that's not viewed as a franchise quarterback, but is viewed as a starter for at least one season. I think that when the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo, we saw some of that. That deal was worth about, $30 million per year for Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe a little bit less. That's going to be your B money. Then your C money is going to be bridge starter money. So not necessarily starter for the full year, but start like the Vikings brought in Sam Darnold as a bridge starter. It's going to be 10 to 15 million is going to be the going rate for the bridge quarterback. Darnold is making 10 million this year with the Minnesota Vikings. Below bridge starter money, you have plus QB2 money, which is somewhere between 5 and 7 million per year. And then you have the rest, which is between the league minimum up to 3 or 4 million per year. So the 49ers were able to pay Sam Darnold when he was being paid as a quality QB2. They were paying him. It was going to be worth up to $11 million if he had played a lot incentive-wise, but I think it was a deal worth about $5 to $7 million in that 2023 season. He priced himself out because their budget stopped there. Their budget didn't go any higher than $5 million next year, so he priced himself out into bridge QB territory. The Vikings needed a bridge QB because they drafted J.J. McCarthy, so Darnold signed with Minnesota for about $10 million. And up through 2 weeks ago, it looked like he was playing himself into somewhere between A and B, somewhere between that $50 million range and the B quarterback range of $30 million. People are saying, well, is he going to land in the $40 million range? Or where's it going to be for Sam Darnold? And with every game that he delivered and every win that Minnesota notched under his QB leadership, it looked like he'd be closer to that A-list range, because this is a guy with talent, right? Draft pedigree, third overall pick. But the last 2 weeks have knocked Sam Darnold down into bridge QB territory again, where he entered the season. Because the team that knows him best now, the Minnesota Vikings, they have their QB of the future, who they use the first-round draft pick, who they really like, in J.J. McCarthy on the roster. They also have Daniel Jones. So that's a really, really interesting equation. I put the title to this video in semi-jest. The title is Sam Darnold headed back to the 49ers QB Rehab Program under Brock Purdy? And although I joke, the meltdown that we saw over the course of the past 2 weeks has Sam Darnold closer on track to be back with the 49ers QB Rehab Program than he is to being a full-fledged starting quarterback in the NFL next year. By full-fledged, I mean not as part of a bridge QB program. He was firmly on the full-fledged track up until 2 weeks ago. But now, given the situation and given how poor the past 2 weeks have been, it's no longer in that position. Is the game over yet? I was waiting for this game to finish before we got into crazy things. Let's see. Let's go. Rams-Vikings final score. As you could tell, I turned it off at 51 seconds. So we should have a lot of people joining here over the next minute or so. 27-9, Rams all over the Vikings. The Rams are going to move on to Philadelphia next week. That is going to be interesting to watch. Matthew Stafford and the Rams, that they took the punch to Minnesota. They didn't care that Brian Flores was blitzing on every play to start. They decided to run play action anyway, right into the teeth of the blitz. Play fakes into the teeth of the blitz meant that the Rams decided that they were going to play this game on their terms. They weren't going to let Brian Flores, who blitzes more than any other coordinator in the league, run the show. And I thought that was really admirable from the perspective of the Rams. That's what Sean McVay was ready for this. You could tell he had been getting ready for 2 weeks. They played the backups against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 18. A lot of people wondered about that because they actually lost the spot of playoff seeding. But McVay wanted to get ready for this first-round game, and he was ready for all those Brian Flores blitzes. This show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon. Wow. So I read you one of the thoughts from my friend, the coach, the unnamed coach. He had another one about Sam Darnold. He said, Darnold's history of seeing ghosts is on full display today. It is wild how the most financially lucrative week for Purdy's contract negotiations is a wild card round that he's not even playing in. Although it seems that Shanahan and Lynch didn't need to watch lesser quarterbacks fail to realize they have their guy. And to that I say this, give Shanahan and Lynch credit. They didn't need this weekend to know. Remember, less than a week ago, Wednesday, when the 49ers held their season-ending press conference, we heard Shanahan and Lynch both double and then triple down on Brock Purdy being their guy. We heard Fred Warner, he's obviously gotten the memo, talk about it on ESPN Sunday Countdown, saying that Brock Purdy is going to leave the league with several Super Bowl rings on his finger. Super Bowl rings won with the 49ers. The 49ers are convicted on Brock Purdy. They were convicted before this weekend. What this weekend did, and it was a monumental one in this regard, was that it showed those who simply didn't get it, who didn't understand the dynamics of quarterback play. It showed them how valuable the 49ers guy is. Brock Purdy has a quarterback rating of nearly 100 in the postseason. He already has 4 playoff wins, 4-2. The one legitimate loss was to the Kansas City Chiefs, and it came in overtime. So he took Patrick Mahomes toe-to-toe through 60 minutes. It was 19-19 after 60 minutes. And the other loss was, well, Brock Purdy was playing with a blown-up shoulder, so hard to hold that against him, especially after he faced the Eagles the next season, and the 49ers just wiped the floor with Philadelphia on the road. So I think that when you look at the totality of this weekend, a totality of the social media sphere surrounding quarterbacks, it's a quarterback industrial complex, right? In the media, the takes are always going to fly off the wall. The debate is going to rage at the position, but you never know which unpredictable twist it's going to take, where people are going to decide that they're going to make a wrong take and they're going to double down on that wrong take, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down on it. You never know until it actually happens. It just so happens that the media firestorm surrounding the quarterback position has been directed at Brock Purdy, probably because he entered the league as Mr. Irrelevant, pick number 262. It has been directed at him for over a year now. And the initial bad takes were there. The second bad takes were there. The third, again, quintuple double downs or quintuple downs on horrific takes regarding Brock Purdy. People have been okay with being wrong twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And despite the fact they've been wrong so many times on issues surrounding Purdy and his play, they're going down the ship. They want to be wrong one more time before he gets this big contract. They're trying to say he's not going to get this big contract because of whatever made-up reason that they have. What we saw this weekend in terms of quarterback perception made that all crash down. I think you see the desperate extinction bursts from the people pushing some of these narratives. It's almost comical at this point because you can't explain your way around the fact that Justin Herbert has flamed out in the postseason again, that Jordan Love has flamed out in the postseason again, that Sam Darnold, the player who supposedly was a better bargain for the 49ers next year than Brock Purdy, was just sacked 8 times and looked absolutely horrific. You cannot reconcile that with the fact that Brock Purdy has had a stellar beginning to his career in postseason play, that he's the most efficient quarterback in the NFL ever since he joined the league in 2022. So we have the data. The data didn't even have to include Brock Purdy playing this week. Now he's going to get paid, and people are going to be wrong for the 6th time, maybe the 7th time, maybe the 8th time, and then we could turn around next year. They're going to be wrong for the 9th time, the 10th time. It's just comical how this consistently repeats itself. But this was a big inflection point. Give Shanahan and Lynch credit. They did not need this weekend to know. They are sailing full speed ahead as the 49ers move forward in this offseason. But simultaneously, we're talking about this game between the Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. I want to open up some stats on this game because the 8 sacks were a complete joke. LA doesn't blitz a whole lot. This is one thing that I noted in the first half. The Rams, this is a football team who plays defense a lot like the 49ers played defense under Nick Sorensen. They sit back. They give a young, inexperienced secondary as much help as they can as far as numbers on the back end, and they trust their front four, which is actually fairly talented. I like the front four for the Rams. But they don't blitz a lot. However, my main point throughout the course of the past week after the 49ers have let go of Nick Sorensen, and this goes back to when they still had Sorensen. I remember tweeting this multiple times during the game against the Lions. You need the blitz at opportune times to win in this league, especially against good opponents. That's just the way that this league is going. The Shanahan type of offenses and Kevin O'Connell's offense does fit that mold. The one blind spot, I would say, relative to everything else, it's not like a pure blind spot, but it's a relative weakness, is when pressure tests some of the protection answers. And today, you see Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings defense do that. They blitz the most in the league. Today, the Rams, they didn't blitz a whole lot, but they blitzed at very opportune times. And the biggest one of those 8 sacks against Sam Darnold came on an Ahkello Witherspoon blitz, the former 49ers cornerback. So I talk about the Rams taking the fight to the Vikings instead of the other way around. Minnesota has taken the fight to other teams this year because of how much they've blitzed. The Rams said, screw that. We know Flores is going to blitz. We're going to run play action into the teeth of that blitz anyway. Make him stop it. And they made Flores pay for his over-aggressiveness early on. That set the tone. And then on the other side of the football, the Rams said, we're going to take a page out of Flores' book and blitz ourselves on a huge down. And that's when he brought the corner Ahkello Witherspoon. Chris Shula, one of the Shulas, brought Ahkello Witherspoon, and he knocked the ball loose from Sam Darnold, and that was that. That was the end of the game. I thought it was embarrassing down the stretch that the Minnesota Vikings just essentially gave up. Even late in the third quarter, they were playing that game as if they had a 3-score lead instead of facing a 3-score deficit. Right? They were running clock at the end of the third quarter. They're running the football, running clock. Hey, I understand needing to be balanced, and maybe you wanted to protect Sam Darnold. Maybe you wanted Sam to not throw another interception so he could enter the offseason on a decent note. But this is the playoffs. You can't just give up. And the Vikings gave up down the stretch. I thought that was a terrible look for them. They end up being close to the biggest losers of this first week. The Chargers lost by more. The Chargers lost by 20 to the Texans. The Steelers lost by 14 to the Ravens. Well, the Broncos also. Although the Broncos have a lot more to be proud of exiting that game in Buffalo. They lost by 24 to the Bills. The Packers lost by 12 to the Eagles. The Bucks lost by 3 to the Commanders. And the Vikings lost by 18 points, a 3-score game to the Rams, despite being favored, I think, by about 3.5 points. Crazy, crazy stuff, including that blitz role reversal. What a busy week and what a busy month it's going to be here for the National Football League. Report came out today, I believe, first from Jordan Schultz, that the Dallas Cowboys and Deion Sanders have been in preliminary contact. So there's a chance that Jerry Jones hires Primetime to come back to the NFL. I think if that happens, that might break this YouTube channel. Well, definitely, he's an ex-49er. I could cover it from that angle. But obviously, he's an ex-Cowboy as well. Currently the coach of the University of Colorado. And it appeared today that the Cowboys had no clue what they were doing when they decided to part ways with Mike McCarthy after the interview window for a coach like Ben Johnson had passed, because Johnson is still with the Lions right now. So it looked like the Cowboys were totally inept. They may still be completely inept, but maybe they have a plan. It could be an inept plan, but maybe the plan all along was to go after Deion Sanders. How wild would that be? I mean, that would bring eyeballs, that's for sure. And I know Jerry Jones, for all the criticism that Jerry Jones has, I think, rightfully taken over the years, getting too involved in football operations, holding his own press conference after every game in the locker room, all that stuff. He did build the Dallas Cowboys and, by extension, the NFL into the massive brand that it is today. I mean, Jerry Jones deserves a lot of credit for that. He knows how to bring eyeballs to the product, even if he hasn't fielded a truly winning product in about 3 decades. One way to bring eyeballs to the product would be to hire Deion Sanders as your coach, regardless of whether or not he'd be successful in the NFL. Anyway, what a weekend for Brock Purdy. We're going to go to the quarterback stats from this game. This is going to be a grand reveal. We're going to see what Sam Darnold's EPA per play looked like in this football game. We're going to go to box scores on Ben Baldwin's website and go for there. Where do you guys think it was? What percentile do you think it was in? think that was probably a 18th percentile performance from Sam Darnold. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford was really damn good. You have to give Stafford and McVay credit. They were in full lockstep. This is a dangerous Rams team, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this postseason with the Rams clicking the way they are. Decently opportunistic defense, but an offense led by, obviously, a Super Bowl champion quarterback that is blossoming, gelling at just the right time. To think the 49ers were probably a Deebo Samuel drop away from beating the Rams, or a couple dropped interceptions away from beating the Rams just a few weeks ago. It goes to show you how narrow the margins are in the National Football League. All right, we're going to the box score. We're going to Minnesota and LA. It's loading up on Ben's website. All right, I think that I overestimated Sam Darnold's performance. This is going to be ugly. You guys ready for it? Here it is. 27-9 to final. Here's Darnold. If we hover our negative 0.42 EPA, 7th percentile. Ouch. Yeah, I overestimated. I said 18th percentile. Stafford was solid. 62nd percentile, above average. QBR around average. I mean, it wasn't perfect from Matthew Stafford by any stretch. He got away with one, too, when he flipped that ball forward. It wasn't a fumble return. They ruled it an incomplete pass. They didn't even rule intentional grounding on the play. So whereas Matthew Stafford got away with one, Sam Darnold got away with very little. That is a horrific performance, a 17.2 QBR. The EPA per play, 7th percentile for Sam Darnold. Ouch. Not good at all. So it just puts all of the Purdy stuff in real perspective here. Why don't we open this up to a Q&A? I'm going to open this up to general NFL Q&A. I think we'll have a lot of NFL fans watching this. There is a report right now, by the way, that the Jacksonville Jaguars and Robert Saleh are on a good track. This is from Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic. He said, there's real buzz about Robert Saleh's chances of securing the Jags head coaching job. He has a lot of fans in the Jags building from his time as linebackers coach from 2014 to 2016. So Robert Saleh was with Seattle in 13, quality control, moved up to the linebackers coach with Jacksonville from 14 to 16 under Gus Bradley. And then he went to the 49ers as the defensive coordinator in 2017. Left in 2021 to be the Jets head coach, obviously fired there, has interviewed for the 49ers defensive coordinator position with that opening, but is also interviewing for a couple head coaching spots, including Jacksonville and the Las Vegas Raiders. And according to Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic, it isn't looking bad for Robert Saleh to go be a head coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if that happens, and even if that doesn't happen, I talked a bit about it earlier today, Dennis Allen is out there. I know that Kyle Shanahan really respects Dennis Allen, former head coach of the Saints, former head coach of the Raiders. Ignore his track record as a head coach. Look at his track record as a defensive coordinator. It's been really good. From 2015 onward under Sean Payton with that New Orleans Saints team, those were really good third down and red zone defenses year after year after year. This is a 4-3 expert, somebody who's mixed up his variations of the 4-3, a veteran who knows how to blitz. I think that's really important. We saw it today. Even the Rams had to pull a blitz out of their back pocket with Akello Witherspoon to really make sure they had the flow of that game under control in the first half. You want experience if you're Kyle Shanahan? I know that Robert Saleh has it, but Robert Saleh might still have one more head coaching gig in him. I don't know if Dennis Allen does. I don't know if another team, especially this year, wants to hire Dennis Allen. So you might be in a good spot for the 49ers to check every single box that you need with that defensive coordinator job if you look at somebody like Dennis Allen. Now I move to the Q&A. We're going to say congratulations to our resident Rams fan, Jim Everett. He watches like every single show. He's in here. I see you guys talking trash to him. His team won a big game tonight. So congratulations. Fisk and Verse are a nightmare. Florida State players. The Rams have a really good front. They've reloaded that front impressively through the draft. Something I remember talking about a lot in the 2 times the 49ers played the Rams this year, that those were guys that you really had to watch out for, especially once they had a chance to really blossom by the end of the season. It's funny because Florida State sent 4 players from that defense, that really, really good defense, to the NFC West this past year. This was the defense from 2 years ago for Florida State. Not this season, right? The season prior to this season. They fell off a cliff, maybe because they lost Fisk, they lost Verse, they lost Tatum Bethune, 49ers linebacker, and they lost Ronaldo Green, 49ers cornerback. So the Seminoles leaving a big impact on the NFC West. But congratulations to Jim Everett. Jim, can you confirm or deny that you're from Visalia since the Rams won tonight? Because you always talk about the In-N-Out burger on Mooney, and sometimes I just can't sleep at night. It keeps me up. I'm trying to think, is Jim Everett the Great from Visalia? Because he knows about the In-N-Out burger on Mooney Boulevard. So I'd like to hear from Jim Everett. I mean, yeah, Jim talks some mess. I get it. But Jim is our resident Rams fan. Like, it's okay. It'd be boring if we didn't have him here. So I think it's all respectful from Jim. I think it's all good. Kevin Wood thinks it's an inside job. Deion's probably already agreed to be the Dallas coach, and they're talking to circumvent any tampering allegations. Well, I don't know if you could tamper with a coach who's in college right now. The tampering rules only apply to coaches on other NFL staffs. Three words, David. I told you so. What did you tell me? I don't remember. I don't. Oh, did you say that Sean McVay would be able to win this game? Were you that guy yesterday? I mean, I'll give you credit. You called it. I didn't really pick a winner in this game. If I did, I might have picked the Vikings to win narrowly. I forgot what I said. But the point is that the Rams had a legitimate shot. Like, this wasn't going to be some kind of one-sided thing either way. The Rams beat them back during the regular season, I believe, also on Monday night, although there was a really bad missed call in that game. That was the face mask they missed on Sam Darnold. This is the playoffs. It's hard to predict. And a lot of it depends on who shows up on any given day. Guess who showed up today? Matthew Stafford. Guess who didn't? Sam Darnold. I could care less who wins these games. I enjoy sitting back and collecting the data that enables us to understand the mystery of the league. And one thing that's been just perpetually debated has been the worth of Brock Purdy. And this is normally a 49ers channel. I know I'm covering the whole NFL over the course of these playoffs, but it's just fascinating that we got so much clarity on that, at least from the fans' perspective, at least from the perspective on a weekend that Brock Purdy did not play. We're almost at 1,000 live on YouTube. Let's get across that threshold. Awesome. Mike just texted me that. Christopher checks his phone every 5 seconds for Purdy contract information. I'll try to keep you as updated as I can. No new updates right now. Did they get to 9 sacks? I turned it off at 8. The Rams defense is really good and young, yes. And you know what? The 49ers picked some nice players in the 2024 draft. Mustafa, obviously one of them. Ronaldo Green, who I just talked about, another one of them. This next cycle, so the draft in 2025 plus the next season, is going to go a very long way in determining who's got the inside track in the NFC West over the next couple of years. Right now, I think it's all jumbled. It's relatively even. I mean, you saw the NFC West teams beating up on each other. Yeah, the Rams have now, I think, caught fire. They're in a really good spot, but it was neck and neck between them and the 49ers a few weeks ago. There were close games between the Rams and the Seahawks during the course of the regular season. Even the Cardinals were making some noise. People thought the Cardinals were going to win this division in early December. Then they ended up falling off. So there was no runaway team in the NFC West. The Rams built an impressively improving defense with their draft picks. Obviously, that supplemented what Matthew Stafford, a veteran, we know what he's about, and those great receivers were able to do on the offensive side. The Rams spent the least amount of money in the whole league on defense this year. Their defensive spend ranked number 32. All the money went to the offense. The draft picks went to the defense. So if they could continue seeing this defense develop, and if they could get Stafford to hang on for a couple more years, that's TBD, obviously, well, then the Rams are going to be in a really good spot. How the 49ers have to counter starts with the 2024 draft class burgeoning into the 2025 draft class. This one has to be good too. This one has to infuse the 49ers with some immediate boost as well. Then we'll see who they re-sign. Does Dre Greenlaw come back? Does Talanoa Hufanga come back? All that's great, but this draft class has to hit the same way the 2024 one did. Then you have to hope for some better luck so you don't have all the stuff that derailed the season. There was tragedy. There were bad injury breaks for the 49ers. But you have Purdy, and you're going to sign him for the long term this offseason. So you've got one of the best in the game in Purdy. That's good, but if you want to keep up with the Rams in the NFC West, the team that won it this year, then the 49ers are going to have to make sure that they hit on this draft in terms of the young, fresh talent to infuse into their defense. So I think that's a great point from Mark A, because it mirrors what the 49ers have to do moving forward this offseason. Wilson asks, can Renardo Green start next year? Of course. Renardo and Diamador Lenore are penciled in to be your two starters for the 49ers in that secondary. Charvarius Ward is a pending free agent. This is the 49ers 2024 depth chart. Let me get the 2025 depth chart for you. Here you go. Renardo Green, Diamador Lenore, the two cornerbacks. Darrell Luter Jr., he's going to be back from IR next year. Where's he going to slot in for San Francisco? And then can we pencil in Sam Darnold as QB2? Everything comes full circle. No, I'm just kidding. We can't. I'm only partially joking, though. After this just horrific two-game finish for Sam Darnold, I mentioned earlier, he was closer to bridge QB or QB2 kind of money than he is to A QB or B QB money. And he cost himself a lot of money, just unable to read the blitzes that Shula was throwing at him, which to me, the Rams don't blitz a lot, and there weren't a lot of blitzes. And the one that I talk about, this is why football is so tough. It's not a 7-game series. It's not this, okay, I'm going to get several chances at it. When I say that he had trouble reading some of the blitzes today, there were only a couple that were actually thrown and were actually effective, but those completely changed the game. So if you go 1 for 2 or 0 for 2 against those types of blitzes, and one of them turns into a touchdown the other way, as the Ahkello Witherspoon sack and fumble turned into, it's lights out. There's your game. There's your season. That's it. You don't have a chance to atone for it. That's why playing quarterback, especially in the playoffs, is so difficult, because you are walking a tightrope. That's why people need to step up and appreciate what Brock Purdy has done so far in the playoffs. He's successfully walked the tightrope. Guys who are supposedly way more talented than Purdy based on their draft status, most recently Sam Darnold tonight, wasn't able to walk the tightrope. He ended up being sacked. Somebody told me it was 9 times. I counted 8. I turned the TV off at 8. Maybe it was 9. 6 of them came in the first half. A lot of them came with a 4-man rush. As we talked about, Fisk, really good pass rusher. Verse, really good pass rusher. Byron Young, another good pass rusher for the Rams. They can get after you with 4, but then when Chris Shula sends the extra rushers, which he doesn't often do, and the offense isn't ready for it, and you turn the tables against the Rams because it was supposed to go the other way around. It was supposed to be the Vikings lighting things up with successful blitzes. You turn the tables. Ahkello Witherspoon looks like one of the most hard-nosed corners in the league for a couple plays. I mean, he had that great tackle on the screen today. I mean, you beat them to the punch if you were the Rams. And when you do that, and when Sam Darnold can't overcome that, well, then he's failed to walk the postseason tightrope. We got another question coming in. Would Robert Saleh actually take less money to be with the 49ers? I don't think it's necessarily a question of less money. I think it's a question of, does he get a head coaching opportunity elsewhere? Jacksonville offers him the head coaching job. The market rate for head coaches is more than coordinators. So yes, that would be more money. And I think that he probably would rather be a head coach than a coordinator. You take your chances at the highest possible occupation in this league until those chances aren't there anymore. So I'm saying with Dennis Allen, the chance to be a head coach may not be there anymore, and he may be the perfect opportunity for the 49ers as a defensive coordinator. So it really was 9 sacks. I remember, so in defense of Sam Darnold, this wasn't a playoff game, though. There was a game, probably 1998. I want to say it was the 1998 season, where the 49ers went to Lambeau Field. This was during their big losing streak to the Green Bay Packers. They walked into Lambeau, and Steve Young got sacked 9 times. It was absolutely brutal. But if that was 1998, then the 49ers turned around and the Packers came to them in the playoffs, wild card round, and Steve Young and the offense atoned for that. And that's when the catch 2 happened, and the 49ers finally beat the Packers. However, the reason I bring this up is when I see 9 sacks, it reminds me of when Steve Young got sacked 9 times against the Packers, I believe, in 1998. That's what happened, and 6 of them happened in the first half today with Darnold against the Rams team, whose defense is blossoming. It really is a crazy stat. Why did the 14-3 Vikings have to travel to face the 10-7 Rams? Well, both teams had to travel. The game was in Arizona. And I think Minnesota, because of that, had a definite advantage in the crowd. Although a lot of teams that play in SoFi have the advantage in the crowd as visitors. But it's just how it works. Maybe this has changed moving into the future. But what we see right now in the NFL is that division winners are rewarded with a home game. And if you don't win your division, the NFC North was extremely strong this year. So the Vikings didn't win. They lost to the Lions in the final game of the regular season. That dropped them from the 1 seed to the 5 seed. So the first 4 seeds are going to be the 4 division winners. The Rams snuck in as number 4. When the Vikings lost to the Lions, they didn't win the North anymore. So the Lions were the 1 seed, and the highest available seed for a non-division winner was 5, which meant that it was technically a road game for 5 against number 4. Do I think the NFL should change that? I think they should consider it, because we have seen a lot of these games where a team with a higher record has to travel to face a team that didn't do as well in the regular season. And sometimes that home field advantage is the difference, although today it was a special circumstance with that game being played in Arizona. We've got some divisional round betting lines. You guys ready for this? Texans and Chiefs. Kansas City favored by 8. Commanders and Lions. Detroit favored by 9. Rams and Eagles. Eagles favored by 6. Ravens and Bills. Ravens now favored by 1. The Bills open favored. That has swung to the Ravens. Let me verify that on my app right here. That's really interesting. 2-point swing, even though that game is being played in Buffalo. Yeah, Baltimore -1. So the game is being played in Buffalo. The Bills opened up as 1-point favorites, and that moves to the Ravens favored by 1. Biggest point spread here of this next week is Detroit by 9 over Washington. Hey, I said it yesterday. I think Jaden Daniels is the best remaining quarterback in the NFC. What Jaden Daniels did yesterday against Tampa Bay was impressive. For a rookie, becomes only the 4th rookie ever to win a road playoff game. And the way that he did it, the precision passing, the scrambling, took matters into his own hands there at the end. Awesome, awesome stuff. I wouldn't be as bullish about Jaden Daniels if he didn't finish the regular season literally ranked number 1 in wins above replacement, above all quarterbacks. Allen, Jackson, Mahomes, they're all under Jaden Daniels. It was one hell of a rookie season, so I think he could take the fight to the Detroit Lions next week. I don't know if they're going to win, but that 9-point spread seems awfully, awfully rich, especially given the injuries that the Lions have had on the defensive side of the ball. I want to open up a team tier chart right now. I think this is a good time to kind of reset on all these things. Let's get this open on the screen for everybody. We can really start to visualize where these next matchups are going to be. And we can also visualize the level of upset that we saw in the game today. So take a look at this. Today we saw the Rams, who had about a comparable offensive efficiency that's on the x-axis, take down the Vikings, who had a much better defense entering this game. But what the Rams did is they neutralized a lot of that blitzing style of defense that Brian Flores brings with the Vikings, and the Rams themselves brought the heat defensively. They have improved over the course of the season. So I say that these two teams defensively met halfway on the vertical axis, and we saw Sam Darnold was so bad in this game, and he's been so bad the past 2 weeks that the Vikings offense has backslid. The Vikings were legitimately a bad team over the past 2 weeks to close their season. But anyway, looking at next week's matchups, first the Texans and the Chiefs. You have Houston over here, Kansas City over here. Kansas City a firm tier above Houston. Houston's got a better defense according to the metrics. Kansas City a better offense. They do have Patrick Mahomes. CJ Stroud has struggled this year, so I would give the leg up to Kansas City. Washington and Detroit is fascinating because Detroit has been like kind of down here recently with how bad their defense has been with the injuries. I know it was better against the Vikings, but is that saying much considering what we just saw from Sam Darnold? Probably not. I think Washington and Detroit are fairly evenly matched teams. I think a 9-point spread is too big. Philadelphia against the Rams. That's one where I could see a bigger spread. It's a 6-point spread. Philadelphia has been playing really good football. That's an upper right team. Now, the Rams have been playing better. That defense is getting better, but I still think they're a tier below the Eagles, so I understand Philly -6. And then we've got the Ravens and the Bills. Here are your two outliers on the very right. That's the MVP Bowl. That could be the game of the year. Can't wait for that one in Buffalo. All right, more questions. Let's go for it. Then it's time for me to get some rest. I've covered all these playoff games over the past 3 days. It's tiring, but it looks like I've made it to or close to the finish line. Justin says, what is the 49ers' most pressing need, offensive line or defensive line? Would love to see Purdy behind a top 10 offensive line. I think that it's a little bit more complex than that. I think that the most pressing single need that could help other positions would be to get a Pro Bowl center. The 49ers could land a veteran Pro Bowl center. In this scheme, that has consistently been a rising tide that has lifted all boats. It makes the guards look better. It makes the tackles look better. It makes the quarterback look better because the center's the quarterback's best friend. He's identifying the protections. Quarterback then worries about what he needs to worry about. And then also the center's executing difficult blocks. It's not all cerebral. Jake Brendel's regressed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think it's because of the knee tendonitis. He wasn't as good as he was earlier in his 49ers tenure. And this is a position where San Francisco has invested big money in the past between Weston Richburg and Alex Mack. If you make the center position better with a veteran this offseason, I think you take a big step forward as the 49ers offense. The last time they had a losing season was 2020, before this one. One of the big moves they made was securing a high-priced center, Alex Mack. He wasn't all that expensive because he was at the end of his career, but boy, did he make a difference from 2020 to 2021. I got to hit Katiha and Los Banos this offseason and do a live. If I'm ever driving through, so I'm determining, I'm in Shaver right now. I've got to get back to San Francisco. I got to be there by Thursday, but I want to go on Wednesday. I might fly from Fresno to San Francisco. I might take the train because I want to keep my car here for logistical reasons. I don't want to take because I'm leaving the city a couple days after that anyway. So I don't want to drive all the way back to the Bay Area, which means no Katiha, Los Banos stop in all likelihood. But, oh man, a live at Katiha in Los Banos would be unbelievable. I mean, if we want to talk about the history of burritos, that is like at the epicenter It was the fields of the San Joaquin Valley, which saw the Mission burrito earn its stripes before it made it into the city. Like, look, there's an entire Wikipedia page about this. And it goes into everything. But you guys hear me talk about burritos all the time. The Mission burrito, popularized in the Mission District of San Francisco, it is distinguished from other burritos by its large size and inclusion of rice and other ingredients. It precedes the California burrito. Take that, San Diego, which was developed in the 1980s in San Diego. That includes French fries, by the way. So these are the best lines. You guys can all check this out. There's like eating style. Everything is in here. New York-based writer Calvin Trillin said the burrito in San Francisco has been refined and embellished in much the same way that the pizza has been refined and embellished in Chicago. Now, if we go to the history of this, you can see that some assert that the original San Francisco burritos were directly inspired by burritos brought by Central California, Central Valley farm workers into the fields, then reproduced in the city. A lot of those fields near Los Banos. So I give credit to Catija right off 152 as you're driving through there. It's a little shack. It's one of the best places there is. You could even take the detour if you're going up and down California and Interstate 5, San Francisco to LA. It's about 6.2 miles east of 152 Pacheco Pass Highway. Go out of your way, go to Catija, and enjoy. And now you have that burrito history. Just type in San Francisco burrito, Mission burrito. It all ties together. It's awesome. It's like when you a performance like the Rams' performance tonight, or when the 49ers hit a good game this season, when the play caller is in sync with the quarterback and when he's in sync with his receivers and everything just clicks. It's kind of like how this whole burrito discussion went. Everything ties together between Catija, Taqueria Cancun, my Mission style burritos. I digress. More football questions. Pharrell knows what he's talking about. There's Chipotle everywhere now because of the Mission burrito. Yes. Look at this. This is, again, we're going back to the Wikipedia page. We're going to spread and influence. No lies detected. Though an authentic Mission burrito is made in San Francisco's Mission District at family-owned Mexican restaurants called taquerias, Chipotle Mexican Grill, Qdoba Mexican Grill, Pancheros Mexican Grill, Freebird's World Burrito, Barbaritos, and Taco Del Mar are large national chains in North America that arguably offer versions of a San Francisco-style burrito. Chipotle was started by a chef who directly acknowledges the inspiration of Mission taquerias. Thanks, Pharrell. You think that Darnold's going to go to the Steelers, the Browns? So those of you just tuning in, I'm just joking about the second tour to the 49ers QB Rehab Program, but it was a bad couple weeks for Sam Darnold. It's been a good few weeks for the Rams. I'm looking forward to more postseason play next week. Speaking of all that, maybe one more, maybe two more, maybe three more. How many more questions do I have in right now? Yeah, maybe one more. I think we're in a one more kind of situation. Nobody said Chipotle was good. Chipotle, though, is, I don't want to say ripoff. It's a descendant of the Mission style burrito. Taqueria Cancun is good. Catija in Los Banos is good. That's what, not Chipotle. I mean, Chipotle is just, that's part of the influence. That's the trickle down effect. Mufasa wants me to read his super chat. Here you are. I wasn't looking at him. Sorry about that. After seeing some of these playoff games, I think Purdy deserves a nice payday. Seeing Wilson, Darnold, and Herbert, there's no way he doesn't get $60 million. I've been saying this the whole time, except I don't categorize it as $60 million or $55 million. Nobody really will care about the APY besides fans. It's an easy way to categorize things and make it make sense because contracts are complicated. As long as Purdy and the 49ers execute and reach a good structure for this contract, it will all be good. It will fit within the 49ers structure. They have the cap room. They have worked to make this fit under a rising cap, and it will be good. So there is a deal to be reached that is extremely lucrative under the 49ers salary cap roof that compensates Brock Purdy fairly, and it's going to have to be one of the most valuable contracts ever given to a quarterback. He is that good. The performance ceiling has been number 1 QBR. His performance floor so far this past season dropped only to number 7 QBR. His playoff performance, 4-2 record, including a game where his elbow blew up and a game where he took Patrick Mahomes to overtime, near 100 rating, 4 playoff wins. We have seen, it was so clear what we saw on the field today. We have seen that it is not easy to play quarterback in the National Football League playoffs. We'll read what the coach said. He said that turns out playing quarterback in the playoffs is exceptionally difficult. It's why Eli Manning's 2 Super Bowl runs are going to put him in the Hall of Fame. Arm talent and regular season highlight reels aside, there's a reason why Sam Darnold is going to be paid about half as much as Brock Purdy. The debate has been settled. There never really was a legitimate debate. I said it was a fake debate. Now it's laid out bare for everybody to see. You saw a lot of quarterbacks struggle. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch didn't need to see other quarterbacks fail to know what they already did, but I think a lot of fans needed to see that. But great points from all of you. Thanks for joining. Hit that like button, hit the sub button. If you liked all these recaps of the NFL games and then the intertwined talk about everything we did this weekend, went live several times, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Give me some encouragement in the comments section if you want to see more of these next week in the divisional round, perhaps with some guest appearances from Margot, who doesn't happen to be here right now, but she will be around next week. All right, everybody take care.